I'm Marion. I'm 82 years old. My husband Robert died 3 years ago. We were married for 52 years. If you look at the photo albums, the ones stacked on the coffee table that I can't bear to put away, you'll see a success story. You'll see a young couple in 1968 standing stiff and proud outside their first home. You'll see vacations to the lake. You'll see silver anniversaries and golden anniversaries. You'll see smiles. And if you asked anyone who knew us, they would tell you we had a perfect marriage. They would say Robert was a good man, steady, reliable, kind. And they would say I was a good wife, supportive, gentle, easygoing, and they would be half right. Robert was a good man, but I wasn't a good wife. I know how that sounds. I didn't cheat. I didn't gamble away our savings. I didn't leave him when he got sick. I stayed right there by his side until his very last breath. But I wasn't a good wife, because for 52 years, I never let him know who I actually was. I never told him the truth. And now that he's gone, that silence is the loudest thing in this empty house. I'm telling you this now because I don't want you to make the mistake I made. It wasn't a mistake of anger. It was a mistake of kindness. Or at least, I thought it was kindness. Let me go back. When I met Robert, I was 24. I was flighty. I was anxious. I had big, messy emotions and dreams that changed every week. I wanted to paint. I wanted to move to the city. I wanted to live a life that was loud and colorful. But I was also scared. I was scared of failing. I was scared of being too much for people. My mother used to tell me, Marion, tone it down. Nobody wants a difficult woman. Then I met Robert. He was an accountant. He was quiet. He was the most grounded person I'd ever met. He was safe. When we got married, I made a decision. It wasn't a conscious decision, not really. I didn't sit down and write a contract. It just happened. I decided that I would be the wife he needed. I would be the peace in his home. I would be low maintenance. I thought that's what love was. I thought love was about smoothing over the rough edges so the other person never scrapes their knee. So I started hiding. It started small. Robert loved routine. He liked meat and potatoes on Tuesdays. He liked to watch the news in silence after dinner. He liked the house kept a certain way, minimal, clean, beige. I hated beige. I hated routine. I wanted to listen to jazz music and eat on the floor and paint the walls bright yellow. But when he asked me, "Do you like this color for the living room?" I smiled and said, "It's perfect, Robert. It's very calming." When he planned our vacations to the same fishing cabin for 10 years in a row, and I was dying to see Italy or France or just anywhere else, I smiled and said, "That sounds lovely, dear. I can't wait." I told myself I was compromising. That's what marriage is, right? Compromise. But it wasn't compromise. Compromise is when you meet in the middle. This wasn't meeting in the middle. This was me erasing myself so he would have more room to be comfortable. Years went by. Then decades. We raised 2 children. They're good kids. They're grown now, with families of their own. They think I'm this gentle, content little old lady who loves gardening and quiet evenings. They don't know that I used to write poetry in the middle of the night and burn it in the sink because I felt silly. They don't know that I felt like I was screaming underwater for 30 years. The tragedy isn't that Robert was a tyrant. He wasn't. He was wonderful. If I had told him, if I had just once said, "Robert, I hate this wallpaper," or "Robert, I want to take a pottery class," or "Robert, I feel lonely when you watch the news for 2 hours," he would have listened. I know he would have. He loved me, but I didn't give him the chance. I was so committed to being the good wife, the easy wife, that I denied him the opportunity to love the real me. I let him love a character I was playing. I remember our 40th anniversary. He took me to a very nice restaurant. He reached across the table and took my hand. His hands were getting arthritis by then, hard-working hands. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Marion, you are the easiest person to love. In 40 years, we've never had a real fight. You've never complained. You've just been perfect." He meant it as the highest compliment. But when he said it, I felt my heart crack. I wanted to pull my hand away. I wanted to say, "I've never fought with you because I've never been honest with you. I haven't complained because I didn't think you wanted to hear it." But I didn't. I just squeezed his hand and said, "I love you too, Robert." We went home. We watched the news. We went to bed. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing that I had turned my marriage into a performance. And the audience was a man who would have applauded the real play if I'd just had the courage to put it on. The cost of this: it's a slow poison. It's not a sharp pain. It's a dull ache that settles in your bones. You start to feel invisible in your own life. You start to resent the person you love, not for what they did, but for what you didn't do. I started to resent Robert for his happiness. I would look at him reading his paper, perfectly content in the life we built, and I would feel this flash of anger. How can you be so happy when I am so bored? How can you feel so full when I feel so empty? It wasn't fair of me. It was my fault, not his. But resentment doesn't care about fairness. Then came the end. Robert got sick 3 years ago. It was fast. Congestive heart failure. One day he was gardening. The next day he was in a hospital bed he would never leave. Those final weeks, they haunt me. When you know the end is coming, the air in the room changes. Everything becomes heavy with meaning. I sat by his bed every day. I held his hand. I fed him ice chips. And every time he looked at me, I saw that same adoration, that same gratitude for his perfect wife. There was a moment, about 2 days before he passed. It was late at night. The hospital was quiet, just the beeping of the monitors. He woke up and looked at me. His voice was very weak. He said, "Marion?" I said, "I'm here, Robert." He said, "Did I give you a good life?" That question. It felt like a physical blow. All the truth I had swallowed for 52 years rose up in my throat. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to say, "You gave me a safe life, Robert," but I wanted a big life. I wanted to see Paris. I wanted to paint the walls yellow. I wanted to argue with you and make up. I wanted you to know that I'm messy and loud and difficult. I wanted to introduce him to his wife. Finally, I wanted him to see me before he closed his eyes. But I looked at his frail body. I looked at the fear in his eyes. He was dying. He needed comfort. He didn't need my truth. Not now. It was too late. So I swallowed it back down, one last time. I stroked his hair and I said, "Yes, Robert, you gave me a wonderful life. I wouldn't change a thing." He smiled. He closed his eyes. He looked peaceful. He died believing that lie. And I am left here with the truth. I live in the house he bought us. The walls are still beige. I sit in his chair sometimes and I talk to him. I tell him everything now. I tell him, "Robert, I really didn't like your mother." I tell him, "Robert, that fishing cabin smelled like mildew and I hated every second of it." I tell him, "Robert, I love you, but I wish we had fought more." But he can't hear me. And here is the hardest realization of all, the one that keeps me up at night. I realize that by hiding my needs, by hiding my dissatisfaction, I didn't just hurt myself. I hurt him. I robbed him of the chance to be a better husband. If I had told him I wanted to go to Italy, he might have taken me, and he might have loved it too. If I had told him I wanted to paint, he might have built me a studio in the garage. If I had told him I was unhappy, he might have fought for my happiness. But I didn't trust him enough to handle the truth. I treated him like he was fragile. I treated his love like it was conditional, like if I stopped being perfect, he would stop loving me. I underestimated him, and I underestimated us. I thought conflict would break us. Now I know that conflict is how you grow. It's how you stretch together. You become roommates who are polite to each other. I see young couples now. I see them at the park or in the grocery store. Sometimes I see them fighting. I see a young woman snapping at her husband or a man looking frustrated with his wife. And you know what? I smile. I want to go up to them and say, "Good. Keep going. Get it out. Tell him what you need. Tell her what you hate. Be real." Because the alternative is silence. And silence is a heavy thing to carry into old age. I am 82 years old. I have a nice house. I have a paid-off car. I have a reputation as a lovely, sweet woman. And I would trade it all, every bit of this peace and comfort, for one messy, loud, difficult fight with my husband. I would trade it all to hear him say, "I disagree with you, Marion," just so I could say, "I don't care, Robert, this is who I am." If you are listening to this and you are sitting next to the person you love, look at them, really look at them. Are you showing them you? The real you? The one who gets angry, the one who has irrational dreams, the one who wants more? Or are you showing them the version of you that keeps the peace? Don't wait until they are in a hospital bed to ask yourself if you've been honest. Don't wait until 52 years have passed to realize that you spent your life holding your breath. Take it from an old woman who learned too late. Being easy is a trap. Be real, be difficult, be complicated. Let them love the real you, because if they love the mask, it doesn't count, and you will end up alone even when they are sleeping right next to you. I'm going to paint the living room tomorrow. I bought the paint yesterday. It's yellow, bright sunflower yellow. Robert would hate it. He would say it's too loud. He would say it doesn't match the carpet. And I would tell him, "I don't care, darling. I love it. I just wish he was here to see it."